everyone, and welcome to IST's Beyond NITK, a series of interviews with our alumni on the career paths that they've chosen, how they landed there, and their advice for all of us who wish to pursue the same. Today, we have with us Aniket Rege. He was the convener of IST for the year 2017 to 2018 and currently works as a senior software developer at Samsung Research. Hi, Aniket, how are you doing?
Hi, Annette, and hi to everyone who's listening. I'm doing great. I hope everyone is as well and staying safe.
Why don't you give us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I was, as you mentioned, I was a convener in 2017 to 18. My final year, I did EC, bachelor's in EC in the NITK, and now I've been working at Samsung R&D as a engineer in computer vision software for the last almost 2 years now.
How is it working in Samsung, the company's work culture and everything?
Yeah, it's been really, for me personally, it's been really great because I've been lucky enough to work in the same field in which I'm interested in working and in pursuing higher education and all those things. So for me, it's been great. I've been quite lucky. I would say that it's difficult to generalize, for Samsung as far as things like culture and the kind of work that you do goes, because it's highly team dependent. So your of course corporate culture does shape how the company functions as a whole, but a lot of your day-to-day interactions, your work will depend on your team specifically.
Right.
And for me personally, it's been great.
How is it your transition from college to work life?
Yeah, so I would say that college life and work life are quite different, especially because college, you have some kind of a safety net, right? Because you're still dependent on your parents or your guardians for things as simple as just income and expenses and things like that. But on top of that, you also have all of your friends around you all the time. Whereas in work life, you generally, unless you're really, really lucky, you won't have that kind of environment around you. So it's different. It's definitely different. And I think it's just something that everyone sort of has to adapt to, once you graduate.
So when you face these challenges when you were working, how did you tackle them and overcome them?
I think so. So, like I said, when you graduate from college and you start working, on top of the environment being completely different, where you'll be facing a lot of things yourself, a lot of issues that whereas in college you would relate to a lot of your batchmates, who'll be going through maybe similar kind of issues with coursework or things like that. In your work life, very often you'll have to deal with things all by yourself, or things that are very specific to you. And those things are difficult. So I would say that being in touch with your seniors is really helpful, because they face some of those same things when they had joined their companies. That's definitely helpful. And depending on what your environment is like, talking to your managers, to your colleagues, who are all there to support you as someone who's new, and generally people are quite understanding of the fact that you're someone who's new, you're adjusting to this new kind of environment, this new kind of life. So I'd say, yeah, talk about the kind of things that you're facing, and slowly you'll start to become better at your day to day.
As a software engineer, you have a brilliant profile. So when you were in NITK through the years, how did you decide upon such a specialization?
First of all, very kind of you to say, but personally, I think I'm quite average as a developer. But yeah, what I would say is that I'm probably pretty good at learning new things, which is what I try to spend most of college doing. And that sounds kind of cliched, but college is or at least a bachelor's is when you're supposed to get more of a a breadth of knowledge. So you're trying to involve yourself in all different kinds of things because you don't know where your interests lie, you don't know what you're good at, you don't know what you're not good at. So I would say I tried to spend my time in college diversifying, trying to get into as many things as I could to see, what kind of things I was good at, what kind of things I wasn't good at, what I liked, what I didn't like. And that included, of course, a focus on academics, which is definitely really important, but also a focus on extracurriculars, things that are intangibles, things that are soft skills. And for me personally, that was primarily through IST. First as a member in my second and third year, where I was, learning how to conduct events, learning how to conduct sessions, KPs, those kind of things. So that teaches you a lot. You're learning how to take knowledge that you're slowly absorbing and to like disseminate that back out, which is super helpful once you start working as well. And in my final year, I transitioned into being a leader from being a member. So that was also super rewarding because leadership is something that is really helpful when you start working, because you'll have more responsibilities, you'll have things you have to do, you'll have people, eventually you'll have people under you who you have to lead. So I'd say those things are as important as academics. If when you're trying to make it in the real world. So I think that a combination of a focus on academics and developing your social skills and your soft skills is definitely for me the way to go.
Speaking of skills, as in both soft skills and hard skills, when it comes to your particular field, for those who want to be where you are right now, what do you say are most important?
I would say that listening is severely underrated. And by listening, I mean not just keeping quiet. That's definitely not what I mean. What I mean is that when you enter, a job, there'll be people there. Almost everyone there will know more than you. They'll be more experienced. They'll know more technical things than you, because you're just a fresher, right? So it's your job to learn from them, to listen. And by listening, I mean not just hearing what they have to say, but actively questioning. When decisions are made, you ask why. Like why do it this way? Why not do it this way? And that's how you learn. That's how you learn from experience. And you come to know that people who have been there before you have made mistakes. And instead of learning by repeating those same mistakes, you learn from their mistakes. And that's how things improve through the years. So I think that's definitely important. Active listening. One more thing that I want to mention is, as I said, the transition from college to work life is difficult. It's different, but it's also difficult, and it can be lonely. So definitely normalize getting help, whether that be from your family, from seniors, from your peers, from your mentors, but as well as things like therapy, because mental health is something that is severely overlooked, I would say, not just in in work life, but just overall. Um, and it's going from college to working is a huge shift in your life, and it's not easy. So I would definitely say that taking care of your health is super important, as well, alongside your all of the learning and the actual work that you do.
For those who again are who want to pursue your particular field, what do you think are the most upcoming things right now and that they should look out for? And how do you think that they should prepare themselves starting from now?
Okay, so to answer your question, I think first I'll just start off with a little bit more general tips, advice, whatever you want to call it. So I think the first thing definitely is to work hard, and that's such a common thing to say. But what that means is you don't, it's not about putting in hours, which is what a lot of people tend to fall back on. It's more about working efficiently and utilizing your time efficiently. So I'd say that's important across all fields. When you're in college, but also even more so when you're working, because the best performers, from what I've seen, are the people that work efficiently, and not just the people who are putting in 10, 15 hours, especially if that time is not being spent productively. So I definitely say work smart and work efficiently while working hard. That's definitely important. And the last piece of general advice is remember to set boundaries. And by that I mean, you're not someone who's available 24/7 for work. Your life doesn't revolve around your work. So you have to make sure that when you're at work, you're focused on it. You're not spending 4 hours like browsing 9gag or whatever, right? So you have to sort of compartmentalize as far as your work and your personal time, and to make sure that people know that when you're at work, you're working, and when you're at home, that's your time, as far as possible. I think that's super important. And now for my field, so for anyone who doesn't know, I work in computer vision, which is it's a subset of computer science, I guess you could say, but also data science, maybe EC in some aspects. It deals a lot with images and video as signals, and trying to extract meaningful understanding from those. You look at an image and video, and you try and understand what's happening, what people are doing in it, things like that. So I would say if you're trying to start a career or get involved in computer vision, there's a lot of great open source tools online, things like Coursera, MOOCs. There's so many of them, and those definitely are a great starting point. And I would say after that, after you've kind of absorbed some theory, actually starting to build things is super important, because it gives you practical experience. You'll know what you're doing wrong, what you're doing right, what you need to improve, and that's really important. I think practical experience really helps. So I think in my field, that's definitely important, and I would say that probably extends to different fields as well. So yeah.
Do you have any other extra bits of advice for those in their third years or in their second, first, and even the fourth years who are approaching placements or internships?
I would say that when you're the things that companies are looking for, or universities, if you're applying for a research position, they'll definitely focus on your core competency, your basics, basically. So you need to be pretty strong with your basics, which is basically the things you learn in your core courses throughout your time. So make sure that you're pretty up to date with those things. So for circuit branches, or maybe specifically for CS or EC, that would be things like data structures and algorithms for CS, and things like signals and systems for EC. So make sure that those core fundamentals are strong, because oftentimes those will help you immensely in your interview process and your problem solving, because if you know your basics, everything is built on top of that. So even if you don't know the advanced topic specific to a question that someone asks you, your thought process matters. So the way that you approach it will let your interviewer know that this person is they have that critical thinking ability to to problem solve. And I think that problem solving is essentially what companies are looking for. And at least computer science, in my opinion, is about problem solving, and not just about coding or whatever. And I think that probably extends to other fields as well. I'm not sure, but I'd say, yeah, definitely invest in your core competencies. And when the time comes to sit for your internship tests and placements, I would say that practice is definitely important. A lot of companies and universities have a pretty standardized kind of testing. You'll have a test to filter out some applicants. Then you'll have interviews one-on-one with somebody from that organization, where they'll ask you to solve some problems, and then you'll probably have an HR round or something like that. So make sure you're familiar with the process for sure, because that definitely helps. Be prepared for the kind of things that people are going to ask you. Talk to your seniors, that how did they approach their preparation, what helped them get an internship or get a job. That's definitely helpful. And I think maybe lastly, I'll just share my own personal experience. So I interned at Samsung in my second year, which is pretty uncommon at that time. That happened because they had organized a competition in my second year, which my team placed second in. And because we were second years, they were just like, oh, you guys sort of rose above your station, so to say. So they offered us an internship, basically, in my second year. And then that basically became a third year internship, and then what's called a PPO, pre-placement offer. So yeah, I think my path definitely wasn't straightforward. I didn't sit for an internship like test interview or a placement test interview. So I don't know if any of this advice is actually helpful, but this is basically what I've observed from all my friends, my peers, and while also from the other side. So I've come to NITK for recruitments from Samsung side as well. So I've talked to the HR, the kind of things that they're looking for. So yeah, and I would say that, just to reiterate, when I was in my third year, I think, when I was interning in my third year. So generally how PPOs work is, when you're interning in your third year, you'll be evaluated throughout your internship period. And if the company likes what they've seen, they'll offer you a full-time position after your internship is complete and you've rejoined college for your final year. And for Samsung specifically, they have this software competency test. And for me, personally, I think I was the only EC student, one of two EC students in that batch of interns, because at that time, Samsung was only hiring from CS and IT. And the software competency test was something that I was not good at all. Like data structures and algorithms, not something I was familiar with, not something I was focusing on at all up to that point. So day one of my internship, I kid you not, I was learning how to take input of data in C and then print it back out. Like that was my starting point. And from there I had to go from that to backtracking, DFS, those kind of things in 2 months. And that involved, after a day of my internship, I would come home, I would practice for 2 or 3 hours every day for 2 months. And that pretty much is what got me through that process. So, even if your competencies are strong, even if everything is, you're solid with your basics, I think practice and hard work are the things that are going to really take you through for placements and internships both. And lastly, I also want to mention that it's a really difficult period as well, because sometimes you will be sitting for internships, you'll be sitting for placements, other people around you will be getting placed. I know especially that circuit branches generally tend to get placed first. So if you're someone in a core branch in mechanical and civil, you'll be seeing a lot of your friends in say CS or IT getting placed really early, and just chilling and partying while you're still preparing and studying. And that's difficult for sure. Even though I of course cannot relate personally, but it's hard. It's definitely hard. So I would say just be aware, be prepared for that. Sucks, but as long as you're focused on what you're doing, you should be fine.
Thank you so much for all your words of wisdom. And that brings us to the end of our interview, guys. If you found this helpful, do hit the like button below. And don't forget to share and subscribe to find out about more opportunities beyond NITK.